And that day was the death of the Alaska spirit in my mind. What they did to us that day was hard. It was hard on a lot of people. It was hard on a lot of my friends. It was hard on me. I was 2 weeks away from having my first child. It put me into a very scary time in my life. It was a big transition for me, and 500 guys that I worked with that I considered friends and brothers, and I think it could have been handled differently. I think it should have been handled differently. Just bought our first house out in Spanaway. We were expecting our first daughter, and yeah, things were good. I was 2 years away from my final raise, which would have put me up to $20 an hour, and that would have been more than enough for me to keep that job forever and raise my family, and yeah, things would have been great. So my plan was to stay with Alaska Airlines for as long as I could see. On May 13th, 2005, I got a call at about 3:30, 3:45 in the morning saying that we had been laid off. It was a very abrupt end to a lot of people's careers, and I myself at the time was 28 and still had a lot of working life left in me. Some of my friends and brothers on the ramp were either older or didn't have another skill set. It was a big shakeup for them. But yeah, some of these guys had already given Alaska Airlines 40 years of their time, or 20 years or 30 years, and going out and getting another job when you're that late in your work life is not an easy thing to do. And not a lot of people are looking for those types of people, especially not for any kind of physical labor job, which is what some of these guys, all they knew. You were in the belly of an airplane on your knees because there's not enough room for a person to stand up in the 737. So you're on your knees with knee pads on, and you have to stack things. It's not a square, it's obviously a tube, so you're stacking things in a belly of an airplane that's shaped like that, so you have to stack things carefully and build a solid wall. Well, there's times when we'd have 10 to 12,000 pounds of fish boxes at 100 pounds a box that we had to stack before we even put the bags in. So you'd put 10,000 pounds of fish in, and then you'd put the bags in, and then any other cargo or mail or anything else that was being shipped that day. And it was a strenuous job. It was a lot of throwing, a lot of stacking, a lot of crawling around on your knees. It was a tough job. And I don't know the details of how that equipment started moving again, but it was moving towards the plane, and he got in between the piece of equipment and the plane to try and stop it, and was crushed in between the plane and the piece of equipment, and he didn't survive. And that happened almost right out in front of our break room, and so we all saw it, and it was a very scary time, very scary thing. And it really opened, I think, a lot of people's eyes to the consequences of the job we were doing. Those jet engines could pull a guy in real quick. There's just so many different things that could happen if you get complacent out there. Well, around Christmas time, they would usually send us some kind of it used to be a Christmas card with either a check in it or something of that nature. And then right around Christmas, they said, "Thank you for all your hard work," signed by everyone, the top brass at Alaska Airlines at the time, and it had a payday bar taped to it. And needless to say, me and my coworkers were less than overjoyed at that. If you don't have it in the budget to give me a Christmas bonus, that I can digest. If you send me a payday bar, that to me seemed almost like a backhanded slap. I didn't understand why they would do that. I mean, I feel like on the 13th, when everything went down the way it went down, the corporate side of the company was shown, and I don't feel, and I haven't felt since then, that they've had much of an Alaska spirit as far as I'm concerned. Being from Alaska, we treat each other as kindly as we can, with respect. If your neighbor needs help, you help your neighbor out. That's the Alaska spirit as far as I'm concerned. And